Welcome to another edition of TM3 Impact. Today, I have Rick Garza, the owner of Bright and Early Productions. I'm pretty sure it's San Antonio's top residential photographer is right here in the building with me. Rick, welcome to TM3 Impact.
Excited to be here, brother. Thank you for having me.
It's a shame that it's taken this long to get you on my show. You know that, right? It's a shame.
I was working on myself, man.
Yeah,
You
for
know?
sure.
Yeah, for 10 years.
Yeah,
How
we
long
were both doing it.
How long have we known each other?
Well, it'd have to be right after I started the magazine. Like 2011, 12 time frame, somewhere around there. Because, you know, San Antonio's 12 years old now.
Yeah.
It's nutty. So, Rick, let's jump right in. I need to know, Cliff Note, PG, your San Antonio story of just coming up, living in San Antonio, and just kind of give me the Cliff Note version.
Okay. Cliff Note, let's see. So born and raised in San Antonio, downtown, there was like right around the Alamo Dome, there was this projects called Victoria Courts.
Yep.
So I was born there till I was 11. And then from that barrio, went from that barrio to another barrio and just kind of like, you know, graduated from one of those charter schools downtown and went to Fox Tech first. Didn't finish at Fox Tech, but tried the college thing. Was like, nah. I just ended up working, you know, all these jobs until I found what I do now.
Yep.
And my family and I have been running this business for I think 14 years, 13 years.
14 years.
Yeah, well, I started in 2008, but then in 2009, that's when I was like, oh, maybe I should be a photographer professionally, you know?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, about 13, 14 years.
That's killer. Okay, so let's go back. I'm curious, Rick, growing up, you know, you're 15, 16 years old. Was there any idea that you would ever be a quote-unquote entrepreneur, business owner?
Oh, absolutely not, bro.
No?
No. I was destined to be like a busboy, a server, a waiter, a construction worker, something that, you know, that was common in my path. You know, I wasn't really, I definitely wasn't a photographer and most definitely wasn't a business owner.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't in my line of sight. It just kind of grew. It basically developed out of necessity.
Okay.
Right? So like the first thing is I was broke, right?
Okay.
And I had to figure out how to pay my bills. And, but then you go in phases, right? And so in phase 1, I was just trying to pay the rent. Phase 2, I was like, oh crap, I got to manage customers, manage sales. And then all of a sudden, you know, there's employees that you got to lead. And, you know, so developing into a business owner was not in my...
You didn't see that playing out the way it played out?
No, absolutely
So
not.
was there anybody, because I know you as a business owner, I've known you from the beginning, you know, when we first started, full, disclosure, Rick and I were, I was a coach for Rick for a period of time in that beginning phases, right? And was there anybody prior to that you would look at and go, oh man, there's a good business owner. Oh man, I want to mimic that. Oh man, before you ever got into photography?
Jay-Z.
Okay.
And like rappers, you know,
okay.
This is like, you know, I grew up on hip hop. So anybody that made it from something, from nothing to something was my role model. Right.
Yeah.
And since we're on the subject, when I met you, it was funny because you were the first husband that worked with his wife, ran a business with his wife, and was a business owner. And I was like, how do you do that? And then, you know, I don't remember how long I had been with Claudia at the time, but we had just gotten maybe past we've been together for 18 years.
Okay.
So we probably were like our 5th year when we met.
Okay.
And so that's when the business started picking up. And I was just like, well, I don't know how to run this business with my wife. We're about to kill each other or divorce or something. It's getting crazy.
Yeah.
And I saw you and Christina do it so gracefully. And you guys were the first couple that I saw actually working on it with a business. And so to answer your question, you know, I always wanted to aspire to be better. And I had the idea of a man as like a hustler, right? So the version of a business owner wasn't really like in my line of sight. It was like a hustler. So, but there's a huge difference. I know that now, right? But yeah, so you know, I just I started looking at married men, and I said, how do I keep my marriage going and my business? And then, you know, 14 years later, we had Emma. Yeah. So now I was like, well, how do I keep a business, a marriage, and be a good dad? Yeah. And so to me right now, those are the high priority things. Is like, how do I figure out how to run all that together? So it's like phases. It's like phase 1 through, it's a marathon. It never, right? It's like, it never stops. You got to keep on growing. And just kind of self-evaluate and say, hey, where do I need refining? You know?
Yeah.
So,
well, what's interesting about you, Rick, is that I learned this as we're working together, is that you've been consistently working on yourself for a while. It's not like you just came out of the blue, because you started telling me about these classes you started going to back in the day. Yeah. Talk a little bit about that. I mean, was this prior to getting married, or was this while you were dating?
Funny thing is, I've always been in sales, right? So like, even when I was a young buck, I was selling something. And so I got into direct sales, MLM, right? And for me, that actually was like very inspiring, because
what were you selling? I got to know what
wasn't I selling?
What did you sell? No, direct like direct marketing.
Yeah.
What were you doing?
No, I mean, I did
cell phones.
It was Juice Plus. It was prepaid legal. It was, I mean,
you did prepaid legal?
I'm dropping all of them. Yeah, like it was a Mariplan. I went to every Thursday night meeting. I
love it.
And
did you ever do a Ameriprise? Did you do that one?
What was that?
You remember that one? It was a financial one.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, I probably did though. I don't know. I did so many, but I went to every Thursday night meeting, and what happened is, you know, to sit in a room full of, you know, people with dreams and visions, and most of them had no background of, you know, college education and stuff. They just were trying to figure it out. Yeah. And then somehow they did, you know, numbers add up, you know? Yeah. And one of specifically, I remember there was this one Thursday night where he said something that kind of, you know, just stayed with me to this day. He said, you know, most people want to make 100% off of their own efforts. He goes, I'd rather make 1% off of 100 people than 100% off of my own effort. And so, you know, the reason why it stuck with me is because, you know, especially as a photographer, right? Any business, any profession, hairstylist, barber, whatever, right? When you're the man, right, your demand is higher. And so it's like, you always got to work. Yep. You know, and there is no time off. And as you get better and you try to perfect it and try to perfect it and try to perfect it, you just keep on getting booked and booked and booked and booked. And then I realized that there is no leverage. Leverage. You know, you are the guy forever that has to show up. And physically, your body will give out on you at some point, you know. So that whole, I would rather make 1% off 100 people. That just kind of like
it stuck with you.
It stuck with me.
Like, how do you do that?
Yeah, so I was like, how do I just make? And then, you know, 1% doesn't sound attractive, you know, but if you have 1,000 appointments, you know,
that adds up.
It does, yeah.
So you took that, and then that led to some growth classes. What was it? Tell me about the classes that you started taking.
Yeah, so that, you know, those in and of itself was like a mini seminar. It was an hour seminar, right? Yep. And then you got church, which is another seminar. And so I was attracted to I was attracted to people that said, hey, I'm not perfect. I want to get better, right? Okay. And so from that, it led me to a Zig Ziglar seminar. And when
was Zig Ziglar there?
Oh yeah.
Holy cow, I didn't know that. You got to see him in person.
Yeah, he was at the Alamo Dome.
Do you know how that's a big flipping deal? That's huge.
Yeah, because there's something that came from that seminar, and he said, if you can help somebody, you can help it. You can get whatever you want to get as long as you help enough people get what they want to get.
Yep, that's it.
And so, I mean, that you're talking like 19 years old, you know, or
you were 19 when you saw Zig Ziglar.
Yeah, I was somewhere around there. Wow. And so you take that, and then you take, you know, and then you see these people that, you know, come from nothing to something, and then you say, well, how did you do it? And you know, the idea is to make sure that you humble yourself to kill your ego every single day and say, you know, there's room for improvement, Pim.
I love that.
It's not just you're not God's gift to earth, and you don't have no improvement. You are God's gift to earth, but you gotta improve on, your craft or yourself. And, I love going to CBC, and Pastor Ed just chin checks me every Sunday, bro.
Yep.
Every Sunday.
Yep.
And
he gets me on Saturday. We go Saturday nights.
Yeah.
We get the ultra chin check because he's working out his material on Saturday night. It goes about 30 minutes longer. Because he's putting a little bit of extra in there. But I know what you mean. Yes, he's working on chin checking everybody.
Yeah. So and then John Maxwell.
Yep.
Right. So John, you introduced me to John Maxwell, and specifically the book that we did the mastermind on, like 7 times. I don't know how many times we did it, but no, it was like 4 times. I think you did it.
We've done it more. I've done it more.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. You're right. You and I probably done 4.
So
that book is. You remember the name of the book?
15 Laws of Growth.
The 15 Laws of Growth.
15 inevitable laws of growth.
Yep.
And the fact that he was a pastor and he was married, or he is married, and he's just a follower of Christ, and he runs successful businesses. And so I said, and I found like a common denominator between all of them that I just said, man, there's got to be something.
Yeah.
And I said, all of these men that I aspire to be like, right? They all follow Christ.
Yeah.
They all love Jesus. And I was like, and at the time, I don't know Jesus. I just know about him. Mm-hmm. I just know that, I'm like, man, I'm curious. My uncle got saved a few years ago, so I'm like, maybe I should start, building a relationship.
Yeah.
And so for me, I've been on that journey, just trying to have a relationship with Christ, run a business, stay married, for the last 18 years.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
So you go to Zig Ziglar, but then there was another class after Zig Ziglar.
Climmers. Yeah.
Climmer. Okay, you got to talk about Climmers because you and I have had conversations because they're still going. Climmers is still going, correct?
Rule number 1 about Climmers: you don't talk about Climmers.
Oh, is that right?
No. There's something about experiencing it for yourself.
Right.
Everyone who's gone to Climmers will actually know exactly what I'm talking about because it's an experiential seminar. So you can't. It's like hearing about Tony Robbins' walk on the fire rocks.
UIW. Yeah. Unleash the power.
Yeah. So it's like hearing about it and then doing it is different, right?
No, for sure.
So like, if I start talking about it, you're gonna be like, "Oh, walk on fire. What do you call it? Charcoal?
Yeah.
You want me to walk on charcoal?"
Well, I think this piece, I think the piece that I think is important that you talk about is you were starting to get these seeds of personal development.
100%. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So what age? When did you start doing the MLM and the multi-level marketing?
17, 18. And here's, can I drop a little personal thing? I couldn't get a job at the time. Like this will probably help somebody. So I couldn't get a job because at the time I had some stuff on my background that would prevent employers from giving me a job.
Right.
And so I was like, dude, I need to make money. Claudia was the only one working.
Yeah.
It was bad at the time, dude. It was tough. It was tough. I couldn't get a job.
Nobody was willing to take a chance and hire you.
Except the MLM people.
Yeah.
Except the sales, direct sales.
Yeah.
Yeah, those were the only companies that were like, dude, it don't even matter. Like, look at this dude, look at this dude, look at this dude. So just being accepted and shown an opportunity. And it's all about math, and I love math, so it's like just being welcomed, invited, and then having a mentor and having somebody say, hey, look, just do what he did. And all he does is this, and he follows this system. And so, but it ended up, I went to Climmers was the one that actually like, cracked my brain open because of the experiential exercises.
Okay.
And so you're talking everything about, you're talking from limiting beliefs and see, so once you go through one of those exercises, it's hard to come and make excuses out here because you just did some crazy stuff in there. Like I'm talking about like crazy stuff, like not, profound or bad, just carrying people and climbing up walls and just stuff that you would never see possible for yourself. And then you come over here and you're talking about, well, I was gonna, but it was hot, or I didn't have gas money, or whatever. It's like hard to make excuses after you know what you just did over there. And the thing that helps you be successful in those exercises is your mindset, right? So it's like, you had to get creative in some cases where you couldn't even talk, but you had to figure it out with 40 people.
Okay.
Like imagine this.
Yeah.
There's a mission and you got to get 40 people together.
Okay.
But none of you can talk. Like how you can't write a letter, you can't text, you just have to go. You can't really do gestures that you can't do the, like, I'm gonna spell it out for you. You just have to can't use your mouth. But yet there's a very difficult task that you have to figure it out with 40 people. How do you do that? So you have to, at the time, you're in a room with other people that are also trying to get work on themselves. And so they can't make excuses either. Nobody wants to make excuses. Everybody's like, dude, we got to figure this out. And then you see people, just with poor attitudes, and you're like, dude, you're messing it up for all of us.
Yeah.
And so it's like, just get out of the way. And then it's like, well, we can't push them out of the way because the rule is you have to use everybody. Yeah.
Yeah.
So now come to the workforce, right? And then try to make an excuse.
Yeah.
It's hard. So
how many climbers classes did you do?
Oh, dude, Claudia was upset. She was like, you need to stop going.
Oh, really?
Well, no, I say that because it was just like, I'm a junkie.
Yeah,
I'm a junkie. Like, you sign me up. And it was awesome. What was really cool is she actually went to one of the longer ones with us, and some of the principles and mindsets that we took from that still resonate. Yeah, they still resonate. Like, there was a scene in my brain that I'll never forget, but Claudia actually climbed up one of those, it's a telephone thing.
Yeah. I remember this picture.
She's way up there, bro, and she literally has to jump off of that and then catch a bar. And the vision that I have in my head is my wife just fully extended, just like trying her best, bro. And it's she was trying to get it. Now, she didn't get it.
Yeah.
But she was fully extended. Imagine her whole body just jumping off of a pole.
Wow.
And I'm probably exaggerating, but she's like 15, 20 feet in the air.
Wow.
I mean, that's no exaggeration. She's 15, 20, off of the little pole.
Yeah.
And she's like fully extended. Like, her hands are way over her feet. And we have a picture somewhere, but it's in my head. And I see that and I'm like, man, that was awesome. And, I took that from that.
Did you do this too?
Oh, I fell on the first, I couldn't even stand up straight. I was so terrified, bro. I was like,
oh my gosh.
But that just shows you how much of a better person she is.
Yeah, she just went for it.
She's just like, she was more like, I just don't want to be seen in front of you people. I'm not, She was like, let's get this over with.
I think it's interesting though that people that put themselves in situations and experiences like that, right?
Yeah.
Of growth.
Yeah.
Right? Where you're seeking growth. I think that it does something to our mindset, like you're talking about. It changes us. I remember the first time I went to John Maxwell, we had to do a 5-minute speech in front of our table. And now at John Maxwell, everybody's like a type A for the most part.
Yeah.
I wouldn't, maybe I'm not a type A, but everybody is very personal growth oriented. They're all speakers. They're all book writers. Everybody is very serious and on point.
They're buttoned up for sure.
And they're all ready, and everybody at that table had achieved some level of success at whatever they were doing.
Yeah.
And here I am, have to stand up in front of 9 people, and I've got to share my story that I've created. And I just remember it was probably one of the nervous times I've ever had speaking in front of. And again, it's only 9 people, Rick, and I've spoken in front of a lot more than 9 people.
Yeah.
But I remember that got me out of my shell. Even just that, because I was speaking to people that were wanting to do what I wanted to do, which is speak at a high level, it was powerful.
Yeah.
And and every year that I would that I go to John Max, so you had to do the same thing. You had to jump up and speak in front of all of those people, and it changes you. It changes your mindset. It helps with growth. So now fast forward. I need you to tell the story about how you got your business started, because I know the story.
Yeah.
But I need for people that are listening to this that know you, right? They know you. They've worked with you for years. I need them to know the story of how it even came to be that you got the camera to start the business.
Yeah. Oh, so at the time I was a bouncer, and I worked at a furniture warehouse, and I think one of my birthday presents or something was like a point and shoot, and I was very fascinated with this little point and shoot, and I would always take pictures of a cup and a flower, and it was terrible, and I'd be like, what's wrong with my picture? And then I got infatuated with this, like the complexity of it. It wasn't just automatically a good picture, and even though I thought it was a good picture, like nobody else could understand what they were looking at. So when somebody says, when you show them a picture and they're like, well, what am I looking at?
Yeah.
That means it's a terrible photo, right?
Yeah.
So I just kept getting distracted with this little device.
Okay.
And the reason why I say, I literally think photography saved my life, because it distracted me from so many other vices and so many other people that, otherwise were, bad influences. And so I just kept getting infatuated with this little camera. My mother-in-law saw that, and her and my wife knew that I was like, falling in love with this little hobby. And they financed a Sony camera for me, and it was like a prosumer, so it wasn't really professional, but it was beyond a point and shoot at the time, and it was like a $700 kit. It was like big money,
Yeah.
Especially for us, and so it was like I felt like compelled that they saw that I was like interested in this enough.
What year was this? Like how long ago was this?
08.
08, okay.
Yeah, 08 or 07 or something.
Okay.
And then I just made the audacious statement. I was like, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna take care of the family with this camera. And
okay, so hold on, we got to stop there.
Yeah.
Okay, wait a minute.
I talk a lot, dude. I say
Rick,
dumb stuff.
But seriously, I would imagine here you are. They come out with the camera.
Yeah.
And you get it, and you're an emotional guy, right? Like we've been around each other. We're emotional guys, right? You see this camera, and you immediately are compelled to say what?
I'm gonna take care of the family with this camera.
Where did that come from?
I don't know. I was stupid, Tomas.
No, it wasn't. That was. I mean, I don't think it was stupid at all. Can you go back to that feeling? Do you remember that feeling?
Yeah, I was fired up. I was like, ooh, man, I could make $50 an hour with this camera. Or $50 a shoot, I was like, bro, and if you do like 5 of them, oh, bro, that's $250. It's way more than I make, So again, I had that hustler mentality,
right? Right.
And so that's the reason why I was saying it's so silly, but
but it wasn't.
No, it wasn't, because it was full circle. Like it actually came to fruition, and actually
for sure.
And
you spoke that into existence,
for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And it was manifested. I think in a big way.
Yeah.
Because of the work that you had done prior. Because had you been doing some of this personal growth before that?
Yeah.
You had seen Zig Ziglar.
Yeah.
Right. Have you been the Klimmers? Had you already been to Klimmers?
Yeah.
And in Klimmers, they kind of push you to kind of see the vision of where you want your life to go.
Yeah, so that's why I fully believe that God has been talking to me for like 20, 30, 40 years. I don't know. He's been talking to me, and I just ain't been listening.
Yeah.
Right? Because when I take all of my past jobs, and I say that, without any exaggeration.
Tell people the number, because I know you counted.
Over 40
Over
jobs.
40. Yeah.
You're talking from Bill Miller's to Shining Shoes to the library to furniture companies to painting, roofing, welding. It goes
cell phones.
Don't
forget the cell phones.
Gym, the gym. That was another key moment when I used to sell cars and sell gym memberships. The whole selling thing just became a motivator, right? Like I was like, because when you're selling gym memberships, you are commission based, but you're also like very interested in helping people. It's totally different than just like selling them something that they're
for sure.
It's not a product. It's a change of life, right?
It's a lifestyle.
Yeah. And then with the car, depending on what kind of salesman you are, you actually maybe position them in a car that actually helps their family.
Yeah.
And so the better of a car salesman you are, the more passionate you are about putting them in the right vehicle, making sure they're not upside down, because financially that puts a big burden on them and saying, hey, look, option 1 is not the best. I wouldn't do that if I was you.
Yeah.
Option 2, I don't care about my commission. Let's go with option 2 or 3 or whatever.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, 40 jobs, and then you put a camera in my hand, right? And
so you up until that point, it had already been about 40?
No. It was probably like 30.
30, okay. Got it.
It's embarrassing, but
right.
But
it's not embarrassing at all.
No, but I guess the thing of it is like when I was here's how it helps me today, right?
Yeah.
So like the reason why I say it is like if you just try to hear what he's telling you, you'll get it, because like when I was a busser. Bill Miller's, they would say tables, and then you would go outside and you would just like, and then you would be all sweaty and you smell like flour and grease, and then you come home and it's just like your shoes are wet. It's terrible, right? So the reason why I say that is because it's like, getting a little dirty today is like, it's no big deal as long as I'm not. I mean, I bust tables. When you complain about being in the hot sun, it's like, well, I remember what it was like when I was a roofer, and ain't nothing like when you're a roofer.
Right.
You want to complain about 105 degrees? Talk to a roofer and just say, hey, it's hot, right? He's going to look at you and throw something at you because it's hotter up there.
He'd rather be down there.
Yeah, he'd rather be in and out of an office every now and then, So, so those experiences kind of led me to this. And again, you go back to Zig Ziglar saying, if you help enough people get what they want, right? So if you look at the business that we're in, right, and you say, okay, well, what is the reason? What is it that you want?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And for you, it's one thing. For them, it's another thing, right? So for the seller, it's like, I want to sell this house. In fact, I don't even want to sell this house. I need to sell this house.
Yeah.
Right? And if you put your needs and wants aside for just a moment and you say, okay, well, how do we do that? Like, what does it take to do that, right? Mm-hmm. You help them get what you want, right? And you do that enough.
You build one of the top photography businesses in San Antonio.
One of them,
yeah. Yeah, for sure. Okay, so you get the camera.
Yeah.
Is this when you start taking the club photos?
Yeah, club photos and, weddings and parties and baby showers and
you shot everything.
Everything, yeah, except porn. I did not shoot porn.
Oh, that's good.
It is good, yeah, yeah. Claudia wouldn't have accepted that, T.
No.
She would have been like,
yeah.
Yeah. No, but I shot everything: baby showers, births, barbershops, car clubs. I got some homies that have an amazing car club where they had amazing. I don't know if they still do it, but they gave me the opportunity to take pictures of everything. Yeah. And I was on fire, dude. I had those big baggy jeans and the big baggy shirts, and I was like, "Hey, bro, let me take a photo." And then I just make $50, $75, whatever. Yeah. And then I started getting good. But
when did you start upgrading your camera equipment?
When I got into short films, I started like
video stuff.
Yeah, because I got into short films, music videos, and then that's when you realize, like, damn, there's a limitation. Yeah. I just like this setup, right? It wasn't always like this, but now you have the lights, and now you have the different the gear and stuff, and now you have the switchboard and all that stuff because you realize the limitations that the other ones have. And so, we've paid off the first camera. Then she said, "Hey, like now you can buy whatever you want because I can see, you're really into this thing." Yeah. And so then I had to start buying a lot of video gear. And when I was into video, you need lights, you need audio, you need sliders, you need jibs, all that other stuff. And so Fat Joe said one time, he said on one of his podcasts, he was like a lot of dudes aren't okay with being number two. And what he was referring to is like everybody wants to be number one. Yeah. And so one of the things that I'm grateful for some reason, I'm okay with being number two. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like even just right now when you said you have the best photography I said one of them, right? I'm okay with just being like top five. I'm good with being top five because I could be top 30, but I'm happy with top five, right? Right. But I'm okay with being number two because I can actually learn from number one. Yeah. Right. If I'm number one, then I ain't got nothing to learn. Yeah. But if I'm number 2, 3, 4, 5, then I always got something to strive to. Right. I can say, oh, I like the way they do their systems. Right. I like their logos. I like their their branding. I like the way they do that. Let me figure out how to, up my game a little bit, But if you're number one, there's very limited growth.
Right. Well, I mean, the one thing I will challenge you on is that you may be number one in San Antonio, but that doesn't mean anything in Austin, right? So there's always something to strive for outside of your city.
And you told me one thing. You told me one time, your version of happiness matters.
Yes.
Right? So like what does happiness look like, right?
Yes.
And so like I mentor some young guys now, and everybody has a different version of happiness, right? To me, if I can make it home before Emma goes to sleep, bro, that's heaven. Like if I could wake up next to her, and then go to sleep with her, and then she wakes up, oh man, like to me, that's a win.
Right.
So every day I don't do that, I lose.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, in one season, I was just trying to make, $50K a year. And I was like, Lord, please help me figure out how to make $35K.
Yeah.
And then it was like, God, let me just make more money than Claudia, because Claudia's making a lot more money than I am.
Yeah.
And that ain't right.
I remember one of our first coaching sessions. We were it was Claudia and you, and then I came in.
Yeah.
And I could sense, Claudia was just like, okay, he's doing his camera thing, but I need him to make X amount of money before I ever consider, because you wanted her to come on board to help you.
Yeah.
And
because I was losing more money than I was making.
Right.
Like I was like not answering phone calls, not answering emails, not caring about my taxes, not caring. Like I was losing more than I was making.
Yeah, you were making the classic business mistake of 100%. A one-man band, trying to do it all on your own. Correct. Right? What a lot of people do.
Yeah.
And trying to do everything and then really not mastering anything. You know Correct. What I mean, right? Yep. And so I remember we wrote it on the board. We had it on I think it might have been even here in this office. Mm-hmm. I think one of our first ones was here in this office.
Yeah.
And I remember writing on the board, and I said, okay, for Rick to make $4,000 a month, we got to do 25. We calculated it. Yeah. It was 25 homes. Mm-hmm. Do you remember that? Mm-hmm. And I remember you're like, yeah, 25 homes. Yeah, we could do that. Yeah. We could do that. Claudia's looking over there. She's like,
he ain't gonna do 25 homes.
she was over there like, I don't know about this.
Yeah.
But when we did the math and we did everything, I think there was like a click for you to go.
Yeah.
We started working backwards.
Reverse engineering
it, right? This problem that you had been just, okay, let me get the next deal. Instead of thinking, okay, from how many deals do I need to get, and let me work backwards from there.
Yeah.
And it was like a click, because within like 2 months.
Yeah, we were able to figure it out.
You were able to figure it out and bring her on board. It was like really quickly. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Now, where did the name Brighton Early Productions come from?
Literally?
Most
Def.
Stop it.
Yeah. Yeah, Most Def has a song called Sunshine.
Are you serious?
Yeah. And it was like,
we may have. Well, we can't play it on. Dang it, we can't play that on our YouTube.
I mean, the lyrics on that song are so dope.
Yeah.
Yeah. He says, you caught me off guard.
That's okay.
But yeah. So I mean, literally, I was listening to a song, and then it's just that motto of waking up, early bird gets the worm. When you're up when everybody else is asleep. As I grew up, though, I mean, I'm 40 now, so it's like, everybody's still asleep for like 3 hours.
Yeah.
If you wake up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. So like life gets busier and louder and noisier. So if I could just get like 2 hours by myself, that is a blessing. And you actually can hear him talking to you, bro. Like when nobody else is awake, and you can actually put your phone away. It's like, just the ability to do what you want to do only happens when everybody else is asleep, because everybody needs something from you, you know. And as you have a business, it's just like, if it ain't your team, it's your customers, and if it ain't your customers, it's your responsibilities at home. And so like,
Yeah.
it's just, man, at 4 o'clock in the morning, and none of that starts until 7.
Yeah.
At 7, it's just like I'm gonna turn on my phone. There's 50 notifications.
I love it.
But anyway, so the hustle, early bird gets the worm, just that mindset. And then I noticed again that was a common thing with entrepreneurs, successful business owners, is they thought the same way. They said, dude, while all them other business owners wake up at 8, you can wake up at 4 or 5, and you'll have 3 hours ahead of them.
Yeah.
You'll have so imagine if you're this successful and you wake up at 6, imagine how much more successful you'll be if you wake up at 5.
Yeah.
And then if you're this successful, you wake up at 5, imagine what you would be like if you woke up at 4.
Yeah. And the discipline, I think, for most people that are hearing this, if you're a striving entrepreneur, it's discipline is you got to go to bed early, right? You've got to set the stage for this,
right?
Because the reality is that sleep is the superpower. I think a lot of people underestimate the power of sleep and what it can do for your body. Like in my Ironman training, I mean, like I was averaging a minimum of 7, but on the days that I really I'm done, I mean, I would get 8-9 hours of sleep.
Do you do that naturally? Like you don't take no melatonin?
No
Tylenol PM?
Well, when you're working out, 2 to 3 hours a day, you know what I mean? Like by the end of the day, and I was doing that all at 5, about 6, 7 in the morning, right?
Yeah.
So by 10, all my working out was done, and now I had to work. When I got home, at 8 o'clock, I was pretty much done. I'd eat.
Do you take naps?
No, I didn't take naps during that time period. Man. No naps. No. Now, there's nothing wrong with a nap. I think naps are good.
I love naps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's it's a superpower, right? Sleep is a superpower. So
I do need to get better at sleeping though.
So for people out there, if you want to sleep good, right? For Rick, this is for you too, but like if you really want to sleep good, no caffeine past 1 o'clock. You gotta you cannot have any caffeine past 1.
Yeah.
And some would even say earlier, but you gotta eliminate caffeine.
Yeah.
Because caffeine does not give you energy. Caffeine blocks tiredness. It blocks the receptors of tiredness. So that if you've ever found yourself laying in the bed and you're like, I don't think I'll ever go to sleep, it's typically because you probably have the half-life of caffeine in your system because you drank some at 5 o'clock.
Me. Yeah.
Right?
That's me, yeah.
And your body it will not get tired no matter what you do, So you got to eliminate as much as you can. You got to eliminate caffeine after a certain point.
Yeah.
And then you got to do something to tire your body out. You've got to do some kind of working out. That will help as well, right?
Yeah.
And so if you didn't, I mean, your work is pretty physical, right? So you're gonna come home tired for the most part.
Yeah.
But for those that you're sitting at an office job, maybe you come home, you do some push-ups, you do some sit-ups, you do something to kind of activate your body, and then you need to sit and just be still with no phone. And allow your body to slowly go to sleep. Yeah. And the sooner that you can get in the bed, sleep is a superpower. It's better for your body.
My boy told me that it has something to do with it affects your testosterone and it also affects your cortisol levels.
Probably.
And all that stuff.
I don't know all the science behind it.
But this dude's buff too.
Yeah.
Man. So he's like, that's why he has to sleep. He said if he's trying to build muscle, he has to sleep.
He has to sleep. There you go. Yeah. It's a superpower.
There's something to it. Yeah.
In I think just as a business owner, this idea that you're going to grind your face off and sleep 3 to 4 hours and be productive is there are very few people that can actually do that. Elon Musk. I don't even think Mark Zuckerberg is on that level anymore. I don't know if you've seen pictures of Mark Zuckerberg.
Oh, he's working out, right?
Dude, he's ripped to shreds.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's good.
But this idea that people are just gonna, sleep for 3 or 4 hours and they're just gonna grind their face off, there will be health consequences for that.
I will challenge you though, because he was building this $1 billion thing for the last couple of years. And
Mark Zuckerberg?
Yeah. But now that it's built, he's like, okay,
for sure.
let me go work out.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm sure that he's taking some time and he's letting his team build it, right? Because really that's the of what. Remember what your buddy said?
Yeah.
He said, look, if I could get 1% off 100 people,
right?
He's getting 1% off of $1 billion.
A couple billion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it ain't 1%, Rick.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's not taking 1%. He's taking more than 1%.
Yeah.
So if you, again, getting back to Zig Ziglar, if you help enough people,
Yeah.
Find what they need,
Yeah.
they're going to in turn help you.
That's exactly where I'm at right now. Like in our phase my phase of life, I'll speak specifically for me, is like I'm learning that I'm just out there too much, working for no reason, just working. Mm-hmm. And so I'm going to scale back a little bit so I can do less, so I can do more.
For sure.
Yeah. Like where I'm at is like I do need some sleep, to be honest with you.
Yep.
Sleep sounds very attractive right now.
Well, listen,
Like,
it will be the
take a nap
superpower.
right here. Like
I got the setup over here.
Yeah, there's mood lighting and.
So, okay, Rick, so bright and early, we're going to
Yeah.
put the website up on there. If you, Soren, hook us up. So we now know how you got the name, which I love. I did not know that, right?
Yeah, most definitely.
So Bright and Early Productions, you are a full-service residential photographer and commercial photographer. I remember the day that you and I sat down and you said, I'm only going to shoot residential.
Yeah.
No more weddings, no more babies, no more whatever.
Yeah.
I'm only going to shoot residential. And as a coach, I'm coming from the perspective of like, inquiry based, not like, what the heck are you doing? That you're just going to say no to money? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I asked you some questions. Do you remember why you said, I'm only going to shoot houses?
I don't know the specific, like there wasn't just one answer though.
Yeah.
The first reason, well, what do you know? What do
No,
you
tell
remember?
me. You tell me.
What do you remember?
I do remember kind of partly of what you talked about, but I want to hear from you first.
Okay, so the first reason is income. Like, if you in production, you have net 30s, net 60s, net 90s, and Claudio don't care about what net it is. If it ain't here on Friday, like you need to stop doing it.
Yeah.
So there was
in terms of like getting your money.
Yeah, net 30, like 30 days from now, I'll send you a check.
Yeah.
60 days from now, I'll send you a check. So the production life is it's an animal that you need to learn how to master. And unless you are only doing production, you ain't gonna figure out how to master it. Like it's timely, you do this production, you take a deposit, you have your payout, and you have to figure out that you have to master that process in order for you to be successful. Like I got friends that are very successful in production, and they look at what I do and they laugh. They're like, I don't know how you do what you do. And I'm like, I don't know how, So anyway, but there's a mastery in pricing. There's a mastery in invoicing and all that stuff. But the other thing was that like when we were trying to buy a house, the lender didn't have a record of income that was attractive enough to bring to the bank, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so they were like, okay, well, you got $1,100 on Tuesday this week, and then it took you 6 weeks to get another $1,100. That can't really buy a house like that, buddy. So then I was like, yeah, but I got this wedding that I shot over here, and I got this headshot that I did over here, and it was just the invoicing is the first reason. But then, at one of those seminars, I learned the phrase, there's riches and niches, right? So if you niche down, they know that you're the guy for that one thing. And, I still get calls to this day like, hey, do you do headshots or something? I'm like, no, but this guy, one of our guys can do it, right? Mm-hmm. So we can still take it, but it ain't going to be me most likely. It's going to be, one of our guys. But yeah, so the other thing is like, man, just to know the market and to know what challenges the sellers are going to have before you walk in the door, if it's in a new community with new construction everywhere, it's going to probably look like the other 50 houses for sale. Yeah. So how do we make this look different? Yeah. If it's a unique floor plan because they did all this renovation, that would be kind of nice to know on a floor plan. Like, how does that look now that it's got the renovations? Mm-hmm. Where did the rooms, sit and stuff? And so, like, if you're doing a wedding on the weekend and then you got a house on Monday, you're not really focused on that. Your client's needs, right? So it's it would be a disservice for me to go shoot a wedding right now.
Right.
It would be a disservice because I'm focused on that $1 million house that I'm shooting tomorrow morning, or the tear down that I'm like. There's houses that I go in and they're tear downs.
Right.
And so like, imagine you're terrified walking into abandoned building, right? And you're shooting it, and then you got to go shoot a wedding in 2 hours. It's like your mindset is all messed up.
Yep. It's all over.
But if you do this every day, you're like, a house is a house, you know. But just learning the market, learning what your clients are going to go through, the goods, like the pros and cons of the market right now, and just knowing how to get ahead of it.
Yeah.
And be like, oh, we've been through this in 2017, right? Or before, post-COVID, we were
right.
We were, this is how it was before COVID or after COVID or whatever, But then also, like, for example, I was talking to a neighbor of a house I was shooting. I was leaving. I left the house at 11 o'clock in the night. He was like, bro, why are you still here?
Yeah.
And I said, well, the contractor, he was finishing up, and so I did all the angles that were pointing towards the windows first, and then I turn around and point towards the windows, towards the angles that didn't have windows, and it's a long explanation, bro. I just, but he's like 11 o'clock, right? And I'm like, well, we had the twilight, and the thing is, like, in this business, if I show up and there's a contractor working on a house, I don't get offended. It's just part of the business, right? But if I'm primarily a different type of photographer or whatever, that literally offends. Like, I got things to go do, and you're over here wasting my time. Yep. So for me, I'm like, it's just part of the beast. It's the nature of the beast, rather.
And I think part of everything that you've done leading up to this is that you have an empathy.
Totally.
Right?
Yes.
Like you have an empathy for that worker because of what you've 100%. Been through.
Yeah, 100%. Like if they say, they'll hire us to go, for example, they hire us to go shoot the house, right? And I always say, I teach everybody this. What we do is semi-relevant, but it's not the main thing. It's how you do what you do, right? So it's like, when you show up and there is some problems, do you say, hey, well, your house is dirty? Or do you say, okay, so why don't I start where it's ready, and then I'll allow you some time to, get it to your liking for the photos. And it's the way you do it, right? So, again, it's just like the only way to get better is if you go through 100 houses a week or 1,000 houses a year or whatever, and then eventually you just start creating this momentum. Mm-hmm. And there's patterns and there's rhythms and you're like, oh yeah, I can anticipate what's going to happen before it happens. Yeah. Because I've been through it before. Yeah.
And that is the reason why I brought that up, because I think it's really important for entrepreneurs to understand is that when you try to be all things to all men, when you try to do it all, I'm going to do it all, and you don't find a niche, I think what happens is you end up in a position where you can't maximize mastery.
Yeah, so like what I realized when I was younger is that I was confusing diversify your portfolio, right? Like several streams of income. Yeah. With like I was you get so let me see what I'm trying to say. So like I didn't want to have multiple streams of income because I was like, oh, I just need to focus on this one thing, right? But it's there's a confusion. I guess wait, let me back up real quick. What I was saying is like they think what I was thinking at the time was like I need to have 7 different hustles, right? Yeah. But I was thinking of several different streams of income. Yes. And there's a difference. That's what I was trying to say. Yes. It's like there's a difference between having several sources of income. Yeah. And doing everything, right?
And then trying to do every one of those streams of income.
Yes. Like I was convoluted. I was like, like it was all mixed up. I didn't understand. So then I started realizing like, I just need to do one thing and invest in real estate or buy something and let it sit there and create an asset somewhere. Yep. But I just need to do one thing. Yep. Whatever that one, because every email, every text message that comes in, I need to have a system in place to handle that, and I need to have a quick response because I'm gonna lose my mind if I don't.
No, for sure. And you're a systems junkie. Like I think if you did a podcast explaining what you do and how you've built your team, I think people would lose. They would be like, "What in the world?" Like Rick went to business school. Nah. Rick went to Harvard. Nah. No, brother. Listen to me. I'm giving you a compliment. Accept it. Because seriously, like your system, the way you run your team. Yeah. is so top notch. It's so top level that there are people that would pay you to consult them to create those systems.
You know, as we get bigger as a team, right? I noticed that first of all,
and I didn't help with any of those systems. Just so everybody knows, you built them.
You did help me articulate some of my challenges, because that's the reason why you need to get a coach.
Yeah,
is because the coach asks questions that you don't even know how to ask of yourself. You know, you're like, you think, you know, either like in my case, I think I'm doomed. Right. And you're like, it ain't that bad, bro. Let's figure this out. What's the first 4 things that we need to do? Right.
Yeah.
And so that's why, you know, having a coach or a mentor that you have access to, right? Like John Maxwell says, having access to your mentor, that was very important. I think that's another reason why, you know, you help my success, is because I can call you, I can reach you, versus like having these online gurus that you follow just because you like their quotes and their edits, right? You're like, oh, that sounded great, I'm gonna follow this guy. But yeah, can you reach him on Monday or Tuesday, right? And so that's a little off subject, but having you help me articulate some of the things that were going in my head, and then I was like realizing that most of my problems stem from most of my lack of communication. And it could go from, you know, the seller, the realtor, the photographer, the aerial photographer, the contractor, the builder. You know, it's like there's 17 people in the middle of one project, you know, and I forgot to tell that person that one thing. And then I go, is there a button that I could have clicked to make sure that dude got that? Because I'm way over here doing this thing over here, and I'm doing all this. I'm trying to put out this fire over here. Can I get you to click that button, do a drop down box that makes this person know that that's what needs to be done? Because I'm human. Yeah. You know, and so where I realize is that the path that I have to, you know, step into is figuring out, how do I perfect my system? How do I better my system? Because the what we do is, it's already like, I got it. Yeah. It's again, how we do it, how we do the what that fascinates me, man. It's like, you know, and then it's one thing for you to know it, but like, how do you get it in the brain of somebody that just started doing this like 7 months ago or 8 months ago, or says, I want to do what you do. And it's like, okay, bro, slow down.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, but this is critical, Rick. I think for people to understand is that, you know, anybody can grab a camera.
For sure.
Right? Anybody with the technology there is. But and they could go shoot a house, right? We've Soren and I have learned that with the video that we've done, right? Yeah. You could go shoot a house, okay? And there are a lot of different photography businesses that have opened up since you've started. But I think when you decided to go, look, it's not the shooting that really is what we do; it's how we do it. Yeah. Everything changed at that moment, because now, how many do you shoot a day? How many houses do you think you're shooting a day now?
12 to 15.
12 to 15, and then in a month?
It depends on the season, right?
Yeah.
So about 275, 350.
So for people understanding, Rick started out not even at a point where you're shooting 25 a month, right? But at one point you decided, this is what I want to do, and I only want to shoot houses. And from that moment on, your monthly total has just click, 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 click. Yeah. It's continued to go up. Why? Because you focus on what you can master.
Well, that and what Zig Ziglar said, you know, helping people get what they want.
Helping people get what they want.
Because, okay, so like, for example, if you're a photographer, right, and you want to shoot, right, all you want to do is shoot, but unfortunately you have to edit. Yeah. Yeah, right? And if you edit, you're not shooting. And if you're not shooting, you're not making money, right? And if you're shooting and you're editing, you definitely ain't marketing.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So it's like, and so if you're an editor and you just want to edit, you definitely can shoot, but you don't want to shoot. Right. You want to edit. You want to perfect your craft. You want your alone time. You want to focus, and you don't need all these 37 distractions, right? And so I don't need to drive all over the place. I just need to do my job. And so the editor wants to edit, but if they're editing, they're definitely not lead generating. Mm-hmm. And so if you're not lead generating, you ain't got nothing to edit, and you definitely ain't got nothing to shoot. So you have to have somebody doing the lead gen. You have to have somebody doing the marketing, the shaking hands, kissing babies kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Then you also have to have something to shoot, and then you have to be good. Yeah. You know, and so most of the time, you know, a shooter, especially in real estate, right? When they get into the business, they think they're going to shoot a house. In fact, shout out to Nolden because he said something funny the other day. He goes, "Bro, I got in this business thinking that I was going to shoot houses and nobody was going to be there." And it's the exact opposite, bro. There's people all over the place.
Yeah.
He's like, every time I go shoot a house, there's people, right?
Yeah.
And so it's a service industry. It's a service business. You know, it's not really like shooting a house is one thing, but selling it is the reason why we're there.
Yep.
You know, so it's like, how do we sell it? Is it going to be an aerial? Is it going to be at 2:00 in the afternoon or 7:00 at night? You know, those are strategies, right? And so again, if you're all over the place, you can't think of it. You don't have a presentation,
right?
You know, because you have like, I don't know. I'll charge you $500 to go shoot it.
Yeah,
it'll be dope.
Yeah,
no, it won't.
Yeah,
I
mean, it might be cute, but can you do it 15 times a day?
15 times a day, exactly, and have the consistency. Yeah.
Here's what I've learned the hard way. You know, so the first couple of years I was all over the place, right? And I was doing this and that and this and that. Well, in business, and you'll attest to this, you know, there's waves. There's spring and there's fall and then there's winter.
And then winter comes.
Right? So that winter is scary as heck.
Yeah.
Right? And so that winter scares people so much so that they go, yo, I need to go back to get a job.
Yep.
I can't do this no more. This is winter. And see, as you grow, you have a baby and a wife, and the winters are harder.
Yep.
They're not the same. The winters when you were 25 and single is different than when you were 40 with the wife and a daughter.
And just so people understand, what Rick is referring to is that there's the ebb and flow and the cycle of a business. And so sometimes you'll come into a winter season where revenue is down. Yeah. You know, the opportunities are lower.
The economics.
You know,
just the season, COVID, the time that it froze.
Yeah.
Like, you know, materials are high.
Yeah.
So nobody's building, and then there's too many new builds. Like all of that stuff affects, right? So the winters change, and sometimes the winters are like, oh, that's cute, but then sometimes it's like freezer burn, right? Like it's hard.
Yeah.
And so just understanding like this too shall pass.
Yeah.
Right? It's just going to be another month. Just hang in there.
Yep.
You know, do some marketing, do some follow-up, do some, you know, just take this opportunity to rest, right? And so if you're all over the place, you have no peace, and you have no confidence that, dude, when that wave comes back, when springtime comes, you better have systems in place, to support that infrastructure. And if you don't have trained team members to help that big ass wave that just came back,
you're not gonna be ready.
You're not gonna be ready.
You're not gonna be ready.
You're gonna be like, oh my God, you know what? I'm gonna go get a regular job where I don't get overwhelmed with all this, you know, 57 customers calling me, you know.
Yeah. I think that's been another reason what your success to, Rick, is that you've always had an understanding of how to build relationships just people to people, right? Because people love doing business with people. And like for agents, I think agents sometimes they get into this mindset of just, oh, they only want to deal with me. They only want to deal with me. But I think there comes a point in a business where you have to grow your business to where, yes, you may be the person, but your team is out there leading the charge. Right? Building relationships just like you did in the beginning. You know, like my salesperson right now, Caitlin, she has taken the charge of wanting to be out in front. As another advocate for you know, for what we do at Luxury Realm Magazine.
Yeah, my first thrill was when people are like, "Oh, I love the photos," right? Or it sold the house or whatever, right? And I was like, "Yay!" Now the thrill is when they say, "Man, your guy is good." Yeah. Or that guy that you sent to my house or that shoot, he's really good. Yeah. You know, we got and that for me, man, I was just like, oh, thank you, Jesus. Yeah. Thank you, Jesus. He showed up on time. Yeah. He treated the customer good, and so for me, I'll ask him before I ask him how was the photos or the media, right? I'll say, how was the service? Yeah. And because that's literally like, I just care about how he made you feel.
Yep.
If they say he made me feel good, all right, cool. So everything else was cool.
Yep.
And then I just kind of like, you know, I'm like, everything else was cool, good.
Yeah.
But how did he make you feel? Comfortable. He was on time, good. I'm like, that's all that matters. Bro.
Yeah.
Everything else we can work on.
Because it's getting back to it. It's not what you do, it's how you do it.
Yeah.
Which is so critical. I love that. So now, Rick, you guys have built how many employees now?
We
Total.
have 14, and then there's Claudia and myself.
14.
Yeah.
Rick, that's amazing.
They're-
I did not know that.
They are amazing. Yeah, they are amazing.
How many shooters now?
Five shooters. and
Five
then
shooters?
Five editors.
And 5 editors.
Yeah.
So I think
And
this
then
is
we have
important.
Customer service rep.
Yeah, you have customer service rep as well. 2 of them, right? You have 2. This is really important for people to understand. Is in this age, you know, people might see Rick and they think Rick's editing these photos. Rick is doing everything. I'm sure there's somebody that thinks that
all
out
the time,
there,
yeah.
right? They're like, "Wow, man, how'd you do that in 24 hours?
Yeah.
And you shot like 5 houses." Yeah. I think it's important to understand that you've created the training for every editor. And your editors, you have a leveling system for your editors for like your higher end products.
Yeah.
That's an upper tier editor.
Yeah.
And then for your other products, the houses that may not be at that $1 million mark,
Yeah.
you've created within your system a rating for your editors.
Yeah.
Talk about that, because I think that's really important.
Well, what we've noticed is that a lot of the challenges is assumption.
Yeah.
Right. So most of our challenges stems from most of my assumptions. That's literally what, like, and I see people assuming, and I'm like, well, why'd you assume that this house was equivalent to the other house?
On your team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the team, but also the customer, right?
Yeah, okay.
So they go, I want 25 photos. Click.
Yeah.
And then they assume that this $1 million house takes the same skill level as a $200,000 house.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it doesn't. There's a bigger house. The way I joke about it is bigger house equals bigger egos, bigger furniture, bigger everything. You know, like the furniture is bigger. A case in point, there was a house that had a giraffe right in front of the fireplace, right?
Okay.
And so I show up and there's this big ass giraffe, and I'm like, what are we gonna do about this giraffe in the living room? You know?
Yeah.
Well, if my junior associate shows up and he's like, well, I don't know what to do, so I'm just going to shoot it or avoid it or whatever, but he might miss it. He might be missing something really important. Well, the point is that you can't go off of assume like your preference or you have to clarify. Yeah. Is this $1 million house? Yes. So you must need a senior photographer. Yes. Okay. So then that means you also need a senior editor. Yes. So that means you don't need a junior photographer. You don't need an editor, which means that guy is going to be most likely booked already because he's a senior. Mm-hmm. And so what happens is, like, unless I have that clarification on the front end, I'm going to send the right photographer to the wrong house.
Yep.
You know, so
it's
just
and then you could have the wrong editor editing the picture that shouldn't be edited.
Yes, and it's like they don't even understand my trick shots or my the stuff that I did on the front end to execute, and it's not their fault. It's my fault for not having the system, or and I, you know, one thing you said earlier, which I was like, I did not develop the system by myself. Yeah. It's constantly asking, hey, bro, what would make this better? Where did I mess up?
On the team members.
On the team, yeah. So you have to have a weekly meeting and say, hey, is there any support you need? Is there anything I need to do better? And it hurts when they give you feedback. Feedback hurts and it sucks, but you have to ask for it. And then you have to do something about it.
Yeah.
You know, so it's constantly chiseling off the defects and then saying, hey, I know I think it's perfect, but it ain't.
Right.
Like and so even like right now we got to go, we literally have to do one of those, you know, workshops where we just stop working for 4 hours and just kind of just focus on our systems, because we haven't done it in so long because we've been busy. It's the peak season. Yep. So there's like 4 months where we don't even talk to each other that much.
Yeah.
On the off season,
we just gotta survive.
The off season, there's tons of meetings for no reason. But in peak season, it's like, hey, bro, you good? All right, cool, bye.
Yeah, but to counter that, this may be the perfect time.
It's where
that.
Yeah, everything starts rattling and all the machines starts like to shake and stuff. And you're like, where's that noise coming from? Oh,
Yeah.
it's coming from the back of the boat.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you just
But
start-
it could be the very pivotal time where someone says something that right in the midst of that,
Yeah.
you have the biggest systems update
Yeah.
that was perfect for that moment. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
like we upgraded, which was a very expensive upgrade, but we upgraded to Monday. And Monday.com is like if Facebook made love to Excel and they would have
had
a
a baby.
baby, that would be Monday.com. And so like,
that might be the best explanation of Monday ever.
you know how I do it. So yeah, so like, cause they let you
it's
tag and
hilarious.
upload and it's a spreadsheet and you can
Yes.
just drag and drop. So, but it's like 2 racks a year. And
Yeah.
so, but it's how I communicate with 14 people at a time.
Yeah, it's
you
beautiful.
know? Yeah. And so anyway, like just that alone, it's like I wish I didn't have to have it, but I have to have it.
No, you have to.
You know,
Yeah,
and
for
so-
sure. So, Rick, wrapping this up, I think the one thing that is the testament to your success is this service mentality. If you were to tell an entrepreneur, a budding entrepreneur, someone that wants to start a business, you know, what would be the one thing that you would want them to understand if they're looking to start a business?
Put people first, I think is priority. You know, like if you put others first, not sacrificing your family. I don't mean that, but I just mean you find a big enough problem and then you put the people within that problem and you say, I want to help. And you just focus in that little area and you just dive in to figuring out the solution to a big enough problem. And you just want to be the, best solution that they can find, or just a solution.
Or a solution.
Just be a solution.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the best. I just want to be the best version of myself, right? So if I'm better than Rick yesterday, I'm good.
Yep.
If I'm trying to be better than the other guys, then it's a comparison thing. And that part is that's leading to something else. So don't compare yourself to another business. Like find a problem that's big enough and say, do I love people enough to do something about it?
I love that, Rick.
Yeah.
And on that, that's a mic drop. Rick, thank you for being on TM3 Impact. Brother,
you,
it's always good to see you, my man. We'll talk soon.
Thank you for having me.
Take care, my man.